Time now for Fantasy Football Today for CBS Local Sports. We're giving you starts and sits for week number 10 to help you dominate all your fantasy leagues. I'm Jamey Eisenberg. That's Dave Richard. That's Heath Cummings. We're going to give you quarterback, running back, and wide receiver start and sit suggestions. Let's start with the quarterback, and Jameis Winston's going to get off to a great start.
I think he will. He's taking on a Cardinals defense. They've allowed 20 or more fantasy points to 7 of 9 quarterbacks that they face, and you know the deal with Tampa Bay by now. Their pass defense is bad. Their run offense isn't very good. Jameis Winston's going to have to throw. Top 5 fantasy quarterback this week in what should be a high-scoring game against the Arizona Cardinals.
Kirk Cousins was great in October. What is he going to do in November?
He really surprised me. I don't think he's going to surprise me in this game, though. He's on the road against a very good Cowboys defense in prime time. And listen, last week was a little bit fluky against the Chiefs. Didn't actually play that well. Just had 3 touchdowns. I don't expect a repeat in Week 10.
Let's see how Kirk Cousins does in a primetime game. A prime player last week was Devin Singletary. Can you keep it up for the second week in a row?
As long as the Bills keep giving him the ball. He had his best game of the season, and his yards per carry actually went down, all the way down to 6.7. I love the fact that he now has a combination of volume, work in the passing game, and big playability. He's close to a top 12 guy this week.
I know you guys disagree on this next suggestion, but Dave, you're sitting Ronald Jones.
Yeah, I think he's touchdown dependent at this point, and I know the matchup is fairly favorable, but this is a Tampa Bay team that's going to throw the ball a ton, and I think that Arizona will be there to limit the run game for Ronald Jones. He's only had 3 games this season with double-digit fantasy points in non-PPR, barely a factor in the passing game. Doesn't quite make it as a top 24 running back for me this week.
Does feel like things are a little bit different for Ronald Jones, but I understand your sentiment. And look, as somebody who's touting Jameis Winston, hope to see a lot of passing from the Tampa Bay side of things. Starting Devontae Parker at the wide receiver spot.
He's actually become one of the most consistent receivers in fantasy football. He's given you at least 10 PPR points in 5 of his last 6 games, and now he's moving into the bona fide #1 receiver role for the Miami Dolphins. And you might think to yourself, why would I ever start a Miami Dolphins player? Well, this is a team that's throwing the ball a lot. Ryan Fitzpatrick has done a nice job getting the ball to his pass catchers, and I think volume is going to help Devontae Parker be great. Top 20 receiver this week in fantasy football, and maybe moving forward as well.
So the Cardinals have a great matchup against the Buccaneers. Larry Fitzgerald, though, not going to take advantage of it?
11 targets in his last 3 games. He's just not the #1 wide receiver in this offense anymore. Christian Kirk is, and David Johnson's coming back, and they're talking about using both David Johnson and Kenyon Drake on the field at the same time. Larry Fitzgerald might be the 4th option in this passing game.
How the mighty have fallen. Is this the end of Larry Fitzgerald? Maybe the end of you trusting him as a fantasy option. So to recap, we got our starts: Jameis Winston, Devin Singletary, Devontae Parker. Our sits: Kirk Cousins, Ronald Jones, and Larry Fitzgerald. Good luck in all of your fantasy matchups in week number 10. For Heath, for Dave, I'm Jamey. This has been Fantasy Football Today for CBS Local Sports.